Hi all, my name is Saurav Dhyani and welcome back as we started Task Scheduler 2 days ago, and we'll continue from where we left yesterday. So if you remember, we talked about what are the base Microsoft processes that can be enhanced using job queues in the last video. And in the follow-up video, which is this video, we'll talk about what other options are available that you can use job queues for. So as we discussed about the base Microsoft reports and code unit in the last video, in this one we'll talk about some custom objects that you can build and then schedule them into job queues. So as I said yesterday, I'll be using Business Central 16, also called as 2020 release wave 1, but you'll be able to follow all these steps in Dynamics Nav also. I'll start with the story because I'll be using AL to write my custom objects, and I haven't recorded anything about that, and it's already in schedule, so I'll make sure that it becomes available as soon as possible. But you can follow the same code into your Dynamics Nav environment also. So let's assume a scenario where in your Business Central, in the resource table or resource page, there is a field on every resource called blocked, which is right now set to false on, if I'm not wrong, on every resource. Yes. And there is a requirement where you want to make sure that all the resource of type person, which is last 4, should get blocked automatically. So you want to do it every day, that in case if somebody added a new resource of type person, or if a user went inside and changed the block status to open, so you want to make sure that every night all these resources of type person are turned back to block true. Now there is not a base report which can achieve this, or neither a code unit that can achieve this. So we'll have to write some custom code to achieve this. So let's start from there. If you see, I have already prepared a demo for that, and let me zoom it in. So what I've done is I have created a code unit 70,000, which says update resource is the name of the code unit, and on run trigger of that code unit I said update resource, call the function update resource, which is a local function in that code unit, which does the same thing as we talked about. It sets a filter or range on type person, and if any resource find within that range, and if it is blocked disable, it changes it to block true, and then modifies that record till the point all the resources have been updated. So let's publish this extension, and then we'll schedule this code unit into our job queue. So I hit F5, it should get into my tenant, and then we'll be able to use this. So with that, you can also use your custom code units that you can build for your custom processes which are around you, and then schedule them into job queue. So it says the package has been published on the server. Sometime it takes time to load my client, so I'll not wait for it. Let's go back, and it's loaded. Okay, once it gets loaded, I actually start the debugger, so let me stop it. So let's quickly go to extension management and see is our extension available or not. And my extension is demo job q1. So okay, so now we have seen that our resources are yet not set to block true of type person. Let's quickly check it before we set it. Blocked as false, 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 and false. So for all these resources it is set to false. So we'll do the same as we did yesterday. We'll go to job queue entries. We'll create a new entry here. We're trying to run a code unit, and the code unit number that we use is 70,000. Update resource. We'll talk about it in a while, and then I want to run it now, so I'll copy this. I'll set that value later. As I said, I want to do it every night, so I'll set it to run every night. And then you can set your starting time at what time you want to start it, but just for the demo I don't want it because I want to run it now. So let me paste the earliest starter date and change it to 120. Okay, and as we did yesterday, let's set it to ready. So it will run any time. It should be running now. Let's see. I guess it's completed because it was a small one. Let's check the log, and yeah, it got completed. So now let's go back into our resources, refresh this page, and let's start from bottom. So if you see, the blocked is set to true. I'll go back. True, 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 and for machine it is still false. So what actually happened is that job queue ran behind the scene, and the code that was written inside that was executed, which did this update. So that was one example of how you can handle your custom processes also with the job queue. Let's see the other example, which is a little bit different but kind of falls on the similar lines. Let me find my project. Oh yeah, so I'll talk about it. So this was an example where one of our code unit was consumed to do one single thing. Now as it's a code unit, it can do multiple things at a time, and job queue comes up with the flexibility that you can do multiple things from using one code unit only. So let's see how that is possible and how we can achieve that. So what I have done is I have created a table called demo item, and let's quickly go through it, what it does. This table have two fields called entry number and item number, and then the primary key is entry number. So this is kind of will store item number when job queue will run. In the same way, there is a table for vendor, kind of similar field, entry number and vendor number, and one for the customer table, demo customer, which have the similar field of entry number and customer number. So now let's come down to the code unit that we are going to schedule in our job queue. So if you see, this code unit is a little bit different than the earlier one at the top, and I'll go through that as I collapse it so that we can see all of them. So what I'm trying to do with that is, so what is different in this code unit comparison to the previous code unit is that if you see, there is a property set of table number, and that is mapped to job queue entry. So the table number property of the code unit sets the record parameter by reference to the table in onRun trigger. So if I have used the table number property as job queue entry, my onRun trigger will treat it as a parameter by reference. So as you can see, I am using a rec.parameter string, and I haven't defined any variable of type rec. Just because I set this property of table number to job queue entry, rec automatically get maps to that table. So setting up the table number property will kind of, in CAL word it changes the signature of onRun, but in AL word it doesn't, and the rec get mapped to that specific table. So let's see what I'm doing with that. When I map it to this, I'm writing a case statement based on job queue entry parameter string, and that's what I said earlier, that we'll talk about this later. So in that case statement, I have three cases to run a function for item, run a function for vendor, and run a function for customer. And those functions are doing kind of similar thing. Like the item one checks for item which are not blocked, and then copies that data into demo item, but it does it one by one. So I'm playing with this found true. So when the job queue runs for first time, it only will insert one item, and then the next time when it runs, it will insert the next item, because there is a kind of a set range here on item number, and the condition of skip is when found is true, and found gets true as soon as the first record get inserted. So with that, we'll be able to see multiple execution of that particular code unit. So that's just an example to see. On the similar lines, on vendor, it checks for where vendor blocked is blank, and then again copies them one by one to the new table demo vendor, and same for customers. So now what we are trying to do is, using the same code unit demo job queue, I'm trying to achieve three things with this code unit. So let's see how we'll set this up. So let's publish this extension, and once it get published, we'll set up job queue as we did last time, but this time maybe it will look a little bit different. So let's come here and let's do a refresh of this page, and then we have set up the code unit number as 60,000. So now we'll create a new job queue entry for code unit 60,000, and first I'll set the normal parameters, and then we'll come back to general tab. Okay, and I'll say it will run in every 1 minute, because there is nothing much to be done in one execution. And now we'll talk about parameter string. So in this demo, I'm just using one parameter, which is the value that I want this code unit to, or this job queue to execute, is for item. So when I set it to item, and when job queue runs this code unit, it sees that the parameter string is item and will call this. But there are so many possibilities with that, and I'll talk about them as I'm creating new. So let me copy 60,000 again and create a new one, code unit 60,000. This time my parameter is vendor, and I want it to recur every day again. So let's quickly set that, and then this also runs every 1 minute. Let's create the third one of code unit 60,000, and this time it's customer. So once you come down to recurrence tab, I'll set it again to run daily, and you can choose these options the way you want it. So once all that is set, I'll start setting the start time, which is 1:43 a.m. and let's change it to ready. So this one we started is for customer. So customer execution will start in a minute, while we'll go back and make sure that our other job queues are set to ready. So this one is running at 1:43. Let's edit this and change it to 1:44. You can keep it same because it doesn't overlap, because that's how the code is written. I'm just doing it so that we can see the updates in a little bit different time. And then the last one is this, and I'll set it to 1:45, let's say. Okay, and set status to ready. So all these three will be running. Let me open 3 tabs and we'll see the progress as those are getting added. Demo item, okay, nothing yet. Here we'll open demo customer, I guess vendor, okay, and then let me copy this here and we'll open demo customer. So now we have, so if you see, there is already an entry on the customer one. Let me reduce the size. This is demo customer. Let me reduce the size of this also so that we can see them in parallel. This is my demo vendor and this is my demo item. So there will be entries on all these. I'll have to keep on refreshing these. There's nothing on item yet. That's good. The customer was running first, so it should have more entries. So every 1 minute there will be entries added in all these tables, because whenever the job queue is running, it's creating a separate instance of that code unit, and as the parameters are unique, I don't need to worry about that it'll overlap one or the other. And which one is this which is not getting refreshed? Let's see. It doesn't tell the name. This is my customer, this is my vendor. Let me open demo item if it is not there. Okay, so there's one item right now which has been copied from the item table, and the same code unit executing here, and there are 2 vendors, and on this screen there are 3 customers. So as you can see, it's running every minute. The code is processing every minute, and that code had different parameters from the same code unit. I'm able to achieve doing multiple things from one code unit just based on that parameter. So I hope this would have given you an idea about how you can use that parameter field on the job queue, but you can go a little bit more creative while setting up that parameter. It's not that you can only pass one. You can define the ways that you want to send those parameters and then write your custom CAL code to decrypt those parameters. So let me give you an example while these are running. I can have let's assume the same code unit. I'll not be setting it up, but I can define my parameter as a colon b colon c. But then in my custom code or code unit, I'll have to be a little bit creative here to decrypt the parameters that are coming with a semicolon separated. So I'll have to do my magics in my code to kind of make them different pieces. So just to give you an example, that you can use three parameters, like let's say customer number, a date filter, and a currency filter, and based on whatever is fed it from the job queue, your code unit will decrypt all those three parameter, and then you can write your uh, extension in a way that based on what is decrypted, it may call one or two functions based on your need. So with that being said, this is the importance of that parameter string, and you can use it in the way that you want it, and it'll always behave as usual. So you don't have to create 5 code units to do kind of similar kind of things on same similar kind of data. But the only recommendation would be that if you can create logical procedures or functions in CAL so that it's readable, you should not go a huge large code unit just to save one code unit. But with the parameter string, it's possible that you can do multiple stuff within one code unit while using job queues. So I hope you find this video useful, and as promised, in the next video we'll discuss about that how you can create tasks without using job queues. So there is a possibility to create tasks without job queues. If you are a Dynamics Nav developer or a person who was looking this video for Dynamics Nav, I'm sorry for that, but I'll make sure that I put a blog post on my blog as soon as possible with kind of a similar example in CAL Word, and I'll put objects over there so that you can replicate this scenario on your Dynamics Nav environment. Please share your views and suggestions as comment to this video. Please do share the video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't done it. Have a great day, and see you tomorrow with the task scheduler last video.